I'm Chris Aguilera, and this is Popcorn Chat. So I'm happy to present to you Pastor Ron. This man has planted over 100 churches over 15 years. That's incredible. To those that don't know what this means, church planting is a process that results in a new local Christian church being established. And he also likes Toronto Maple Leafs.
No, I don't. I'm a Canadians fan.
That's true. So, Pastor Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, what is a church planter?
Well, a church planter, that's a very interesting question because we often think of somebody who's the pastor who starts, but actually anybody on the team that has actually got a vision to create a new community is a church planter. So somebody who does the technical, somebody who comes in on the team to plant the church, they're all church planters. And it really means that they have a vision for community, to bring people into community, a sense of community, which is very important. And in Canada, we have so many people coming from every direction of the world.
That's true.
That we need churches. And I always say that for every challenge that you have in society, you need a church that meets that. So church planting is so vast, it's so big, and it's so needful that that we see a lot of churches trying to plant in Canada today.
Language barrier.
Well, sometimes there's a language barrier. Most people who come to Canada have to learn English, have to learn French. So, and there's usually people in the community that can translate. But we work really from that standpoint in English, and
Translate.
I can speak a few languages. So,
No, I heard.
and, and there are others on teams that speak a few languages, so we get together and it's just such a challenge for them to think through how they do this legally, administratively,
That's the other part.
conforming to taxes and all of that, plus the people sense of bringing them into community. People need community. Well, in COVID, we're seeing what's happening when people aren't in community, so it's really important.
It's true. What has God done through you during this time of ministry?
Well, I don't think he's done anything special through me. I think that he has a plan, and we just try to fit into his plan. There are people that say, "Oh God, help me plant my church," and I tell them, "Don't talk like that, because actually, Jesus is planting his church, and you're helping him. He's not helping you; you're helping him, right?" So I've helped people in the process of church planting and help them to get direction and vision. And I planted churches in South America, in Argentina, and in Brazil, and in various
Isolated
provinces here. So it's a great process. It's thrilling to be involved with them like this.
What is something that you do that doesn't suit a normal pastor image?
Well, I'm not only not a normal pastor, I'm not really a pastor. Through my life, I've done different things. I was a missionary, and then I came back and I was a pastor, and then I taught in college, in a Bible college, in English and Portuguese. So I was, have all these titles: Missionary Ron, Pastor Ron, Dr. Ron.
Yes, I heard Dr. Ron before many times. That's right.
And Apostle Ron, and all of these titles. And I think that if a person is pastoring, they're a pastor. But quite often people get the idea that they get a certificate to be a pastor, and it's kind of like a default. because they don't have any other, but they're not really pastoring. So I'm not really pastoring right now, so I wouldn't say I'm a pastor.
It's true. Now, talking about calling, this is one of my favorite questions, actually. So, if you would like to pick up the phone and call yourself at the age of 20, 25, what would you say?
Wow. Well, first of all, it's a very interesting question to ask if I called myself when I was 25. Because when I was 25, I was sent to Brazil to be a missionary. It was my first mission, and it was my first ministry. And so, when I went, I didn't really have it all together with regards to, what I should be doing and things like that. But if I were to call myself at the age of 25, I would say, please take this call. It's very urgent. This is Ron Moran, Dr. Ron Moran, and I'm 43 years later, and I've got some things I really need to tell you that are really important. And the first thing I would say to that, to Ron Moran of 25 years, I would say, Ron, spend more time with God. Be in the presence of God.
I like that.
Get on your knees. Know God more. Because you can learn all kinds of things. You can learn how to do ministry and ministry skills and education. But there's nothing that can replace sensing the presence of God. I can't imagine a human being living on this earth and never sense the presence of God. And the thing is that I would say, Ron, you need to sense the presence of God. You need to spend time with God because you need to hear the voice of God. If you hear the voice of God in ministry, that's the greatest thing that you could have. All of the other things you can learn, you can acquire. But the only way that you can learn the voice of God is if you actually spend time with God. And when you hear the voice of God, there are a few things that have to happen. When you hear the voice of God, you have to obey. So you learn that there's in your Christian walk and in your Christian culture, I would say, Ron, get on your knees right now and start feeling the presence of God. Seek the presence of God more in your life and hear the voice of God and then obey it. And then as you obey it, the third thing is become sensitive to God. Become sensitive to God.
Heart.
Yeah, because God shouldn't have to come and hit us on the head with a sledgehammer to get us to get our attention, right? He should be able just to speak to us and we become sensitive. So those are some of the things, if I called Ron at 25 and it's kind of like the question, what would you do over again? What would you do differently? And I would say, Ron, smarten up, get on your knees, spend more time with God. Don't worry about the other things. Because if you can sense the presence of God and have that dialogue, that communion with God, you don't have to run out to find people to start a church. They'll run in to find you because God will direct them to you, because you just have to be sensitive. It's a very interesting question. Thank you.
What keeps you up at night?
It's kind of odd because I'm going to be 69 now and starting to push 70, and
That's still young, by the way.
Yeah, oh, it's still young, yeah. So other than indigestion, I would say that one of the things that can keep you up at night is when you look back and you see things you could have done better. When you come to the end of your life or far on.
Your last quarter.
Yeah, you're headed down for the stretch and you're saying, I think I hurt that person. I hope what I said didn't discourage that person, and sometimes you dropped the ball. You really didn't handle something correctly. You flipped out, you got upset, you went crazy, you acted precipitously, and those sort of things. And a lot of times you replay, as you get older, like where are your weak points? What have you not come up to God's standard in? So that keeps me awake sometimes, retrospection, where I look at, myself and ask myself, what could I have done better?
And that's really interesting. Now, so for my last question is, what can church members do to encourage their pastors?
Well, you know what? This is probably one of the most necessary things. And anybody can encourage a pastor. Anybody can encourage a leader. Just not by lip service, but,
Attendance?
well, attendance is very important. Being there, following them, supporting them. Not falling asleep in church, not texting.
Or their phone?
But listening. You can draw the message out. You can draw what the Holy Spirit wants to speak. So that's important. But verbally, Pastor, can I meet you for coffee? And just tell him, I really appreciated this. Open your heart to the pastor. A pastor is encouraged when they minister, and you take that ministry and you say, okay, how does this apply to me? What do you see in my life that I need to change? And then the pastor understands that the work that they've done, it really has a value. But you can buy him a coffee, you can buy him a lunch, you can buy him a new car.
And how often does that happen?
Well, I know a pastor who a member bought him a new Cadillac, and he went, and after a couple of weeks the Lord spoke to him and said, I want you to sell a Cadillac, give the money to missions.
Wow, like that.
Yeah, and the pastor did. He sold the car and he gave the money to missions, and when the person came to church, he called him in the office. He said, I don't know how to tell you this. I know you sacrificed to buy me this new car, but God told me to sell it and give it to missions. And the brother's eyes went up. Okay. So a couple of weeks later, he came back with another key to the pastor. He says, I bought you another Cadillac. The pastor said, but the Lord told me to sell a Cadillac. Yeah, and the Lord told me to buy you another one. So you don't have to buy them a Cadillac, but you can encourage them, right? In their vision, in their ministry, and tell them you appreciate them. You really appreciate it. It's so easy, right? To be an encourager, because pastors go through difficult times. I know we're going over in time, but 15% of people in society, okay, are introverts. 85% are extroverts. And the pastors are 85% introverts. So they come from that little 15%, they're kind of isolated, and just throw water on the plant, it's just wonderful.
Well, Pastor, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate the time, and I know last time you asked me, Chris, it was a good program, but where's the popcorn? So
the popcorn.
So there's the popcorn.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this and want to help, here are 3 ways to help. On YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you want to send us stuff, make it to the church address. Below, right here, is the church address. Or if you want to help us financially, here's our email somewhere here. And we'll see you guys next time.